Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 34 of the On Deck podcast. I'm your host, Roberto, and today we have a very special guest, a former teammate of mine and someone who's battled through one of the toughest challenges a pitcher can face, and that is Tommy John surgery. Here to share his story, his journey, and everything he's learned along the way, please welcome Josh Kalmin.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and excited to talk about the good and mostly the bad of Tommy John surgery. So thanks for having me.
No, it was my pleasure. I know we briefly talked seems like a long time ago, but it was just what, end of September, start of September ish about, baseball in general and how that's been going. But now that the I gotta get your thoughts on the Jays World Series run first off.
Yeah, painful. I feel like you understand it. I mean, it's kind of cool to see the entire city like be so passionate about baseball for like a month. But definitely stings more for the people who actually have watched all the games leading up to it, and everything that happened. But yeah, I mean, looking back, it'll always be a year to remember, but definitely sucks. I mean, I was in the Scotiabank Arena for Game 7, and I think I could hear a pin drop after the game finished, obviously with how shitty everything was at the end there.
Oh yeah, that must have been brutal. But yeah, like you said, it was crazy to see like how many people like just gathered around the Jays for like that final month of the season. And it was kind of crazy. Like people you had never thought that you would see watch baseball where everybody was tuned in watching.
For sure. Yeah, and hopefully they can be back next year.
Oh yeah, hopefully. But jumping right into things, first off, for those that have no clue what Tommy John surgery is, can you just give me like a brief rundown? Say I was new to baseball and you're give me like a Tommy John for dummies, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I always compare it to is a lot more people know about people hurting their knee, so tearing your ACL in your knee playing another sport. So just like how people tear their knee in the ACL, knee at your ACL, you have a similar ligament in your elbow that connects your elbow called the UCL. So just how soccer players would tear their ACL, baseball players can tear their UCL, and basically what it is just a ripping of your ligament in your elbow, which is as painful as it does sound. Um, but yeah, ligaments don't regenerate like tendons or muscles. Um, so you have to have surgery to repair it, or find a way to really not feel the pain, which is not very fun either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, can you take us back to that moment where you kind of realized that something was either seriously wrong or eventually you heard the words that you need Tommy John surgery?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back a while. Probably I want to say till I was 17 years old. Um, and at 17, I for the first time kind of hurt my arm. Um, and I had like bicep tendonitis, uh, just some like shooting pains throughout my upper arm into my elbow, my shoulder. Nothing too crazy. Um, but it started from that, just a buildup, I think, of pitching so many pitches and so many innings over all the years. As you know, uh, when there weren't as many rules, but how many pitches you could throw guys, and throwing
Oh yeah.
Friday 100 pitches and then Sunday again 100 pitches. Um, it really goes back for me to one start. I remember when I was 16, and I remember being in so much pain in my arm that I had a towel around my elbow and I was just wringing out kind of the pressure that I felt. And
Jeez.
at the time, like I never had any arm issues until that start. So I think that's kind of where I can trace it all back to. And then from there, it's like once you have it, it's hard to get rid of, right? So it's kind of a buildup of things and fighting through some arm issues, and then uh, it just kind of tore one day when I was pitching in a summer game. I threw a pitch. I trained to like try and throw harder, so I was putting more stress on my elbow. Um, and I tore it in a game in June. I mean, you may have been there. I can't remember actually. Um, but the unique thing about when I tore my elbow originally was the ball actually got hit back to me, so I had to throw it to first, and I threw it completely right into right field. So I definitely didn't have that like snapping feeling because I actually had a play to make. Um, and then from there, I was trying to rehab it. which didn't really go well. Uh, and then I went to see a surgeon who eventually just said, like, your best bet if you actually want to be a good baseball player is just to get Tommy John surgery. Um, which at that point, uh, it's kind of like you got to do what you got to do. So let's do it.
Yeah, now that you say that, because I briefly remember being there and like you like making that throw into right field. I remember that because I was gonna say I'm pretty sure we were on the Lee side junior team at the time
Yeah, I think
when
so.
this was all happening, and yeah, I remember you having talks with Tom saying like tendonitis in your elbow, and the arm was never really feeling good, and honestly I was there with you. um I was battling almost the exact same things, but it was in my shoulder at the time. But yeah, it was an interesting time for both of us. I remember taking multiple ibuprofens just to be able to throw and be able to
Yeah,
even just play catch. It was
yeah,
definitely a tough time.
for sure. No, injuries are not fun. Not fun at all.
No, but what was going through your head in those days leading up to the surgery? At least for me, I can say that I was nervous a little bit, but were you kind of relieved? Were you unsure of what your future could be playing baseball, or you got to walk me through that a little bit?
I mean, for me, like, I think number one, I was actually more excited because I kind of felt like I was finally gonna be like healthy again, eventually. Um, but definitely some feelings of nerves. I'm not a big like IV guy. Don't enjoy it. Not a huge fan of going to hospitals. Um, obviously, like many people. So I think for me, like a mix of a lot of emotions. Um, but mostly, honestly, excitement, feeling like someone's actually gonna fix you, if that makes sense. And um, I know you know the feeling, but uh, you hear a lot of like do this, do that, but sometimes surgery is the only way to go. So um, for me, I was pretty successful leading up to when I tore my elbow, so I was super motivated to kind of get back to where I was and even trying to be better for sure.
Yeah, like you said, just hearing everybody say, "Oh, you just need to do this," like you said, do this, do that, and surgery is most likely the best option. I kind of get that I got that like nervous but little bit of excitement to be like that feeling of, finally I'm fixed. It's that excitement to see, obviously the rehab is push that's way, way further down the line, but just that ultimate goal of being able to be like, I'm finally where either I need to be or back where I used to be, if not better, like you said.
For sure.
But what was the toughest part of rehab after the surgery when you essentially had to start from scratch, throwing and that whole process?
I feel like there's kind of two aspects to this. It's the one part is the right after surgery. So I guess for those who don't know, did you have Tommy John surgery or did you
No, I
initially?
had labrum surgery, but I was still in the sling for I think it was 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
Yeah. So for Tommy John, you're in a full arm cast. So you don't start with the sling. You're in the cast for 2 weeks. Um, and meant like mentally in a very basic way, that was the hardest part because when you're a kid and you break your arm and you have a cast on, and people like stick things down your cast to like,
To
you know,
itch it.
itch or whatever. You can't do that with like a surgery on your elbow because they worry that you're gonna tear the scar open.
Oh,
Um,
really?
so that was pretty awful. Like I didn't sleep very well for like 2 or 3 weeks because like you can't sleep, you can't shower, you can't really move your fingers. So it's kind of gross. It's kind of horrible. Just trying to sleep. Like itchiness is one of the most awful feelings ever. So right off the bat, that's one. Um, but I think two is like starting to throw. It's not even your arm because your arm is like quote unquote fixed. It's more about um, I guess going into like the bit of the science behind it is like your brain doesn't process the fact that you're fixed. So what you do is you compensate, um, and you kind of throw weird. or like you move in a different way than you're used to, and that's actually worse for your elbow and your other parts of your body for your throwing. Um, so for me, it was really uh, learning how to do that and not be scared, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, honestly, I totally get exactly what you're saying because I kind of had to do the exact same thing, especially like sleeping on my back with my arm pressed against my chest and not being able to roll over either way. Awful. Showering, I feel you. That was awful. So I had to like take my arm out of the sling and it felt like you have like no feeling in your arm. It's just hanging. You can't let it swing or anything.
For
But
sure,
yeah, the mental thing definitely takes a toll because you have to you're basically reteaching your body how to move properly and not like you said, not compensating for what you were dealing with before and having to basically learn how to throw again, which I found a little bit fun, but also because of how much I was throwing, it was like it, I need to keep doing this. I need to keep doing it to make it like a muscle memory essentially.
for
But
sure,
you can never really just automatically pick up a ball, especially after having a surgery and not throwing a ball for however long. Picking it up and immediately going back into what you think was right before was definitely hard to do.
for sure. Yeah, I completely agree.
And as you got into, the more into the physical therapy, what process challenged you the most at this point, physically or mentally?
I think when you talk about physical therapy specifically, but not the mental side of it, one was the simple way of putting it is when they do your surgery and you have a scar, it's basically like they glued you back together almost, right?
Yep.
So what happens with glue is when it dries, it gets hard. And what you have to do is you have to break up the scar tissue or the glue in your elbow. Um, so that was probably one of the most painful experiences of my life, just breaking up the scar tissue in my elbow, um, and kind of, softening your muscles and your body up to be able to throw and relax when you can throw. Um, I think that was pretty hard. And then also on the mental side of it, you basically go from a full arm cast for 2 weeks, and then you're in a adjustable, I don't know, I call it like a robot arm cast, but
Yeah,
basically
I know exactly which one
yeah,
with like the little
the dial.
hydraulics on the elbow.
Yeah. So they adjust the dial into like an angle, so they open like your arm angle up every 2 weeks, so your arm can become wider, I guess, a larger and larger angle to straighten out your arm.
Okay.
Um, and the hardest part mentally is like you almost have to push yourself hard enough that you make progress, but not push yourself too far that you hurt yourself. Um, so I think for me, it's just like no one can really tell you like where that line is. So understanding, like anything, like if I tell you don't ever walk again, like you have to stay in place the whole time, like your body will tell your legs to stop working and you won't know how to use your legs after a long time. So same thing, if you don't push your arm, then your arm will never get better. So I think that's the hardest part is to know where to go and where to stop.
Yeah, I can agree. The physically it was well, for me mentally it was just like the rehab process was like it started off with like little weights and like struggling to do 10 pounds, like curling that. I
Mhm.
was like, man, I know I can be doing so much more than this. And like being at the gym struggling to do 10 pounds is
Yeah,
like the most demoralizing thing ever. Because personally, I look around and be like, is anybody else just watching me struggle right now? Because like I think everybody should be able to, lift 10 pounds, but like me like shaking so much lifting it, that was definitely like a hard part for me. And like the process slowly, like you said, you can only have a certain threshold, but not being able to push past that because you're scared you're gonna hurt yourself or people telling you, each week increase it by X amount of weight or X amount of throws. It's it's the also the feeling of I feel good enough to do more, but I have to also follow that program at the same time.
for sure. I remember uh, being in the gym and dumbbell bench pressing like 70 with my left and like 10 with my right and just feeling like an absolute clown.
Yeah.
Um, but whatever. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, but definitely looked very weird.
Yeah, that I can definitely that had to be a funny sight at the gym to seeing a guy ripping 70 and like struggling with 10 on the other side.
Yeah, awful. But whatever. It is what it is.
You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. But when you finally got to your throwing program, it was a fun day for me. The first day being able to pick up a ball, but how did the ball feel in your hand that very first day?
I'm trying to think, like, first of all, I took a video and I have no idea where the video is, but I like I was so scared I could barely even like move my arm in a circle to get the ball out. Um, I think for me, like it was fun, also kind of scary. It's definitely one of those things where you don't really know if you actually are prepared for it until you do it.
Yeah.
Um, I'd say the first day I threw the ball, it was kind of exciting, but it was more exciting as I got a little bit farther into it, like weeks 2 and 3, when my body like had the first round of letting go and actually throwing properly, and not like I'm you know a 4-year-old in the backyard, trying to grip my hand around the ball. Um, but yeah, I think the throwing programs get complicated, but the first day was definitely, it's a big marker. It's one of the biggest markers, along with coming back to an actual game.
Did you do, I forget what was it I think it was called the Throwers 10 program. Was that the program that you were doing?
I've done it before. I don't can't remember what exactly it was, but my throwing program um, was based on distance and number of throws. I could probably talk about it a little bit, but don't recommend it. But I basically like made my own throwing program and kind of ignored what the doctors told me, um, because they had it based on distance. So it'd be like, 3 times a week you go out and you make 25 throws at X amount of feet. Then the next week you do 60 throws 3 times a week at X amount of feet. And then the next week you go to a farther distance.
Yeah.
But doing my own research, like I can throw a ball 25 feet at 100% or 25 feet at 30%. Like that's not a really accurate way of te testing, I guess. So I kind of followed the amount of throws, but I just brought a radar gun with me the entire time and just threw and built up my velocity like over like months. And I bought something called a pulse sensor. I don't know if you've ever used it.
No, I
Uh,
haven't.
it's by drive line and it goes around your elbow basically. And when you throw the ball, it measures like the elbow torque you create. So, um,
Okay, yeah,
like
yeah.
Driveline actually recommends that as like a better way to rehab from Tommy John surgery. So I kind of had this like hybrid of like following my doctor, but also knowing that tracking elbow torque and velocity is probably going to be more accurate than just distance because you can throw any intensity to any distance. Um, so it wasn't 100% accurate.
Okay, cool. You saying that the thing wrapped around your elbow, I didn't know that's what it was called, but I've seen it. It's honestly the technology that comes with pitching nowadays and how, in depth you can really get. I absolutely love it. So the fact that you were able to do that and like track it for whatever the months that you were rehabbing throwing, that I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. I'm definitely. It was like $200. It was definitely worth the purchase. You got to find a way for someone else to get use out of it now for sure.
Yeah, but like you said, you're bringing your radar gun with you. But how did you build back your velocity and command? And were there points in the process where you kind of doubted yourself or even the program that you were following?
Yeah, I think the hard part is that like there's ups and downs, like to anything. Like it's not like a straight line.
Yep.
Um, but part of it was like when you talk about what I said before about compensating is I started to get like some pain in my shoulder, like soreness in my shoulder because I wasn't throwing properly. And I still remember like one of my biggest cues was as I started getting deeper into my throwing program was like forcing myself to take a deep breath before every single throw I made into a fence. Because normally what I did was I would get up in the summer uh, and go at like 6 in the morning to the park and throw into the fence and make my number of throws and then just bring a bag of baseballs and go pick them up. Um, but really, it was about letting my arm go. And I think for me, like command kind of came back naturally in a lot of ways over time. But velocity was frustrating because it's hard to judge because even when you think you're throwing as hard as you can, you don't have adrenaline. Maybe the conditions aren't the best, or maybe you're not on a mound. So it's hard to really know how hard you're going to actually throw until you get into a game or you throw a bullpen. Um, but for me, I kind of built up with the radar gun, like I mentioned, and the pulse sensor. Um, because really the way you can use both in tandem is you can see your velocity ticking up. And if your velocity is ticking up, but your elbow torque stress number is the same, then you know you're using your body more efficiently. Um, so I was using those two tools together to build myself back up. And also, I mean, as you know, I'm a big like off speed guy. Like I probably threw 60% or 70% off speed at one point. So it wasn't as huge of a deal with velocity for me at the beginning.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Also, what? Because I know you're actually you are pretty close in the air. What field did you go throw at, or was it just like at a random fence?
It was like at a soccer field. Like I would just go to a soccer field and just throw into the fence like from the grass or whatever, from the 18-yard box and back it up, basically.
But yeah, like you said, letting it go, like being able to trust your body to let it go. That was definitely because I when I did my program, I was always throwing with my dad, and there was times where he was like, "Are you are you throwing it like at 100%?" When I was following the program and it said 100% during these few weeks, and it was weird because I'm like, I'm throwing it as hard as I can, like physically, but it might not look or the ball not might not have that same carry as it did before. So that was always like a weird thing that my I guess my body wasn't really used to was just letting it all go into one throw during that rehab process.
For sure. Yeah, no, I completely get it. I felt the exact same way. It's probably something most people go through.
Yeah, it was always a weird thing to adjust to, and it's like just you just come to a point where you have to trust your body that you're using every single like ounce of power possible, and it's just it's not there yet. And that was probably one of the most frustrating things is that trusting the process because lifting weights, throwing, it's soon to get there. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree.
And when you finally felt like yourself again on the mound, what was the biggest difference between pre Tommy John and post Tommy John you?
Yeah, I think for me it was a bit interesting because what happened was I originally tore my elbow in June of 2022, and then I tried to rehab it without surgery, and then I like had the same feeling, like ripped it again, just like trying to rehab it, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. So I got the surgery, I think September 20th of 2022, which meant I missed the OUA season in 2022. And I was like, I'm not missing 2 seasons. I'm not missing 2022 season and fall 2023. So I came back from Tommy John after like 11 months and 15 days, I think, which is
Oh,
pretty
wow.
quick.
Yeah.
And my fastball velocity was awful. Like I was throwing probably like 73. Uh, because I was like, I felt healthy and I could throw as hard as I can, but I was still building back up basically while I was playing in games. So that year, like I just looked it up myself just now, but like, that year I threw 11 innings. And I probably threw in those 11 innings, I want to say like maybe 200 pitches or something like that. Uh, and I probably threw, I wasn't allowed to throw sliders or curveballs at all. I was only allowed to throw fastballs and changeups because I wasn't fully rehabbed. And I probably threw 11 innings, 200 pitches, and 185 changeups and 15 fastballs.
Really?
Uh, the first appearance I ever had off Tommy John, I was like an opener for that 2023 season. And I threw 30 pitches against Carlton because my cap was 30 pitches. I had to be taken out for 30. I threw 30 pitches. I threw 29 changeups and one fastball. And my one fastball got hit off the top of the fence in the first inning. I never threw another in the rest of the game. Um, so that year I didn't really feel like myself. But after that, like I had another 10 months. I was basically 2 years removed from Tommy John. Um, and then that way I could like have even more time to build up. And I think once I came back, the biggest thing post Tommy John versus pre Tommy John for me was just a lot of people say, and you have people get Tommy John because well, they'll help them throw harder after Tommy John. But that's not actually true. It's like when I came back, I understood how my body worked so much better and how to actually get what I wanted out of every pitch. Um, where my legs need to be, where my torso needed to be, and my pelvis and my arms. Um, so it was a lot easier for me to command the zone and also understand what I was trying to do and execute it. Um, and also when you go through something like Tommy John or like a labrum tear, when you come back, you're just like, F it, like whatever happens, happens. Like I'm healthy. Like it does matter how I do, but like also I'm playing, so whatever will happen will happen. And that helps you have better stats and pitch better and more confidently as well, obviously.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's the fact that you were talking about, knowing where your body needs to be. I think that I kind of went through the same thing is that time off and like essentially starting from ground zero, it's a good base to say, you know, I- forget what I was doing before. Now is where, you build good habits and, knowing where your body needs to be to be more efficient. And I mean, I'm still learning to this day, but I think during the process of, rehabbing and going through a throwing program, it's a good it's a good time to really analyze yourself where you are as a pitcher and how to, move more efficiently.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was probably one of the two biggest things as far as learning how to pitch and what I have to do is like one being rehabbing injuries and then two like coaching. Like those two things like help you learn so much about what you actually have to do to get what you want out of your body and so the whole rehab process kind of led back to me also knowing how to build up my arm properly and being able to start the last couple years of school was um, fun and important and also a big thing for me. And I ended my last start uh, in the OUA was 2024, and I threw 137 pitches in 7 1/3 innings and felt fine. And so that was kind of like my full circle moment, I guess, to be able to throw that many pitches. And I think my fastball velo didn't improve pre or post TJ, but I think my first fastball of the day in my last start was the same speed as my 131st pitch. So being able to maintain that across the board, across an entire start was definitely like a big deal.
That's honestly like that's such a sick story. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Being
thanks.
able to, have a full circle moment like that is especially with, going through it's considered a major surgery. So being able to do that and come back and just be able to say you did it, it's in my mind, that'd be like a massive win.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, and I know you know the feeling. Um, well, you might have, I don't know, are you more than one surgery down or just the one surgery down?
So I did labrum and bicep. So where my bicep was connected, the labrum had just totally just wasn't there. So there was nothing for that bicep to attach to. So it was like it was more so the labrum than the bicep, but there was like times where I'd be throwing and I could literally feel where the bicep was. It wasn't a great feeling.
Yeah, and you got fully healthy. Now you're a two-way superstar who hit a double off me in the summer, and that's why I have to quit.
It was a 2-0. I had to swing as hard as I could.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
You can't get mad.
That was like my welcome to the league moment, but like the other side of it, like okay, you gotta get out of this league.
But wrapping it up here, if there was one thing you could delete from the rehab process of Tommy John, what would it be?
I'm not gonna go with like a cliche like, oh, like nothing, like everything is a part of the experience. It's great. Like it's not. I think as far as the lead, I think is just other than all the pain you go through, I think the part right before where you're actually ready to go, where like you kind of have to contemplate your entire life and like, what the heck am I doing right now? And this is going nowhere, and I still feel like crap every day. Because oftentimes when you feel like that, that's like oftentimes right before when you actually improve and like you hit the next level. So I think that feeling more mentally than physically, I guess, that'd probably be something that I would get rid of.
Very fair. I can agree. Like leading up to it, it's like, am I sure I really want to do this right now? It's like it's almost like you have to. It's like a wall you have to run through because you have to just trust your body to be able to start getting back to throwing. And for some people that could be a hard thing, but it's something that, like you said, something has to be done.
Yeah, no, I think you would agree. Like these surgeries are not for the mentally weak,
Oh,
and if you're mentally weak, then you'll either crash or you'll figure it out and become mentally strong. So it's definitely an important part of it.
yeah. I mean, luckily for me, I did it after the season. So I had January to August to essentially rehab, but I would not be able to do it during the season. I was like, I'm just gonna, thug it out for the what, 2.5 months.
Yeah,
It was an excruciating amount of pain. I did my very best to hide it from our coaching staff and our and the training staff. And I told them at the end of the year, I was like, thank you for everything that you've done. I played through a torn labrum and bicep the whole season. I appreciate you all. And they're like,
yeah,
why didn't you tell us? I was like, she wouldn't let me play. It was my final year. I just wanted to play, or it was my
sure.
final year. But I was like, I'm gonna play through it, and I have the all the off season to get better. But yeah,
Yeah,
I couldn't do it just watching baseball from the sidelines like that.
I tried it. I tried. So I'll leave it off on this story. When I rehabbed and I knew I needed Tommy John, I already had my surgery booked. I still showed up to camp and tried to pitch in the first exhibition game just to say like I gotta at least give it a shot so everyone knows how effed up my arm is. And so I went into the game. I threw a changeup at 48 miles an hour, and I got a pop up to second base, and I was like, "All right, I'm done. My arm is absolutely in shreds right now." But I tried. I got one out in an inter squad game, and that guy will never hear the end of it. Uh, yeah,
That's amazing. It's quite the story to end on.
yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh, thanks,
Yeah,
Josh.
it's
I
good talking about
appreciate
it.
you. This was super informative because, for someone that's had surgery, speaking to another person that's had surgery, also a pitcher, I feel like this was a great conversation.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's always fun to talk about it and talk about it with someone else who's been through I guess a similar type of thing. So I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, I appreciate you very much, and I guess I won't be hitting any doubles off you next year,
No, no more doubles off.
or maybe.
No, just slow pitch for me.
I might have to join the slow pitch league then.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know one day.
All right, Josh. Thank you very much.
All right, appreciate it.
That's going to close it out for today's podcast. I hope each and every one of you enjoyed that conversation with Josh. It was good catching up with him, but also talking through, a major surgery like Tommy John, because let's just face it, it's a horrible surgery. It sucks. The rehab also sucks. So being able to, just talk with him, get his mentality going through everything, I think it was pretty cool. I hope that you all enjoyed it as much as I did talking to him. But you know the drill. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, don't forget to rate and review 5 stars and, send this out to some of your baseball friends out there. It's awesome to have so many listeners from everywhere. I love hearing from you guys. And so, with that being said, I have another guest coming up for you soon. May or may not be a returning guest. Who knows? But I'll keep you guys in the loop with that. But until that happens, thank you. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.